how did your Lord deal with Ashab al-Fil, the Ashab al-Fil, with the people of elephants? The people of elephant here is a reference to the army of Abraham. We'll talk about the story of Abraham, what made him furious against Islam or against Kaaba, or what made him march towards Kaaba later, inshallah. أَلَمْ يَجْعَلْ كَيْدَهُمْ فِي تَضْلِيلٍ. Didn't Allah cause their plots go astray? Didn't Allah destroy their plots? وَأَرْسَلَ عَلَيْهِمْ طَيْرًا أَبَابِيلَ. And Allah sent against them birds in flocks, in groups. Ababil actually means groups. Didn't Allah send against them birds in flocks? تَرْمِيهِمْ بِحِجَارَةٍ مِّن سِجِّيلٍ. Striking with stones, of baked stones, striking them with pebbles, in the stones that are very extremely hot. بِحِجَارَةٍ مِّن سِجِّيلٍ فَجَعَلَهُمْ كَعَصْفٍ مَأْكُولٍ. Then Allah made them like chewed up straws, like the animals chew the straws. Similarly, Allah made them in such a way. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala explained how was the end of the army of Abraham. Here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala explaining a very great event in the history. Arabs, especially people of Makkah, like Quraysh and their tribes, haven't ever experienced such a terrible situation like the army of Abraham when they came to attack Kaaba. They didn't have any of the similar incidents in their life. Abraham, he actually came from Ethiopia, from Habsha. In interpretation of Ibn Kathir, rahmatullahi alayhi, in his great book of Tafsir, he says the incident in a very, very detailed. There it says that Ashab al-Ukhdud, Quran mentioning a group of believers, there were around 20,000 Ashab al-Ukhdud. They were burned by the king Dhul-Nuwas, who was the king of Yemen. You know that Yemen was a powerful country in ancient time. They were extremely powerful because Yemen was the trading hub between all the Asian countries and the European countries. And you know that the people of Yemen, they are the ancestors of the people of Arabia. Even Ismail alayhi salatu wasalam, he married from the tribe of Jurhum, who actually migrated from Yemen to Mecca. So if you look the lineage of the Arabs, the ancestors of the Arabs, they all belong basically to Yemen. They are all Yemenites. And Yemen was so powerful, there was an empire. And later on, during the course of time, their empire tends to Judaism, and they started punishing the Christians of that time. The Christians of that time, they were actually Muslims, they were believers. Quran, in Surah Al-Buruj, is explaining about Ashab al-Ukhdud, the people of Trench. The people of Trench, they were burned alive since they believed in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Their king was a Jewish king, and he did not like Christians of Yemen. They burned them all alive. Subhanallah. And that was an extreme trial for the believers. And no one escaped from that except one single person. He flees to Sham, to the Syria, and he took refuge with the king of Syria, who was Caesar. Then the king of Syria, he passed the message to the king of Ethiopia, because Ethiopia and Yemen are very closer. Only the Red Sea is the barrier in between. Otherwise, the countries are so closer. So the king of Ethiopia, Najashi of that time, he was also a Christian king, and he offered his help, that he would help the people of Yemen against their king Dhul-Nuwas. And he was about to send an expedition, an army under the leadership of two of his governors. One was Ariyat, the other was Abraha. So Ariyat and Abraha were the two governors sent by the king of Ethiopia to help the believers and the people of Yemen against their king Dhulu was. Dhulu was extremely, a very cruel king. What happened when they reached Yemen, they found King Dhulu was. He was found killed, as he drowned in the sea. Then Abraham and Ariyat, they found themselves, supreme governors of Yemen, and thought we could be the rulers of Yemen because nobody else was there to take over the power. They were ruling Yemen, all of them together, Abraham and Ariyat. Later on, there came some disputes. They started to quarrel each other. They started to fight each other. And each army of Abraham, army of Ariyat, they used to fight each other just for the sake of power. Then they came into a term, why we should let the armies fight together? Let's fight, ourselves face to face in duel. Let's fight in duel. Then Abraham and Ariyat came to fight each other. Ariyat, he fought really strongly, and he beat Abraham with his sword, and he almost cut his nose and his mouth. When Abraham was about to die, he was facing the death. Then Abraham's God, he came in front and he killed Ariyat. So Abraham survived with very serious injuries. Later he was revived, and he got a treatment. Then Abraham himself became the king of Yemen. He declared himself, I'm the king of Yemen. Abraham al-Ashram. Abraham's name is Abraham al-Ashram. Abraham, the one, he got his nose cut off. That is, Ashram is because of his fight with Ariyat, his colleague. Then, the king of Ethiopia, Najashi, he came to know this sad news. The two of his commanders, they fought each other, and one of them defeated the other, the one was killed. Then Najashi sent a message that I want, he swore in the name of God that I will tread the land of Yemen, and I will cut your forelock. He swore in the name of God. Abraham, it was sad to know that you fought against your colleague and you killed him. Then I swore in the name of God that I will tread in your land of Yemen, and I will cut the hair of your forelock. Abraham was really, scared to get this news, and he was very panicked. Abraham sent lots of precious gifts to the king of Ethiopia, the king of Abyssinia, just to appease him and to make him happy. So he sent him some precious jewels and a letter and a sack of sand from Yemen. There was a mud, there was a mud in a sack from Yemen, and he mentioned in the letter, I came to know that the king got angry on me, and he swore in the name of God that you want to tread in the land of, you want to walk on the land of Yemen, and you want to cut the hairs of my forelock. Here, you can see a sack of sand from Yemen. You may step on this sand, and you may fulfill your promise. And here I have cut some hairs of my forelock, that you may take it so that you can fulfill your promise as well. And Abraham, since he did all this just to flatter him and appease him, anyway, the king of Ethiopia was convinced, and he gave him his approval. Then, in order to make the king of Ethiopia happy, he promised, I will build a beautiful church on your name, so that will highlight your fame in the country of Yemen. I will do it for your sake. And Abraham began constructing the huge church in the capital city of Sana'a, and he spent a lot of money on that, and he was using very expensive things in order to decorate the church. Arabs call it kulais. Kulais means, kulais is taken from the word cleanse, that is Arabs used to say that if anyone want to look at the height of the church, they will have their cap fallen off because of tilting their head back, looking at the height of this church. So they call it kulais. And Abraham was challenging, he wanted to make Yemen or Sana'a a capital all the business, because they had lost the business after they had been fled in 450 AD, right before 5 decades before the birth of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So they were in extreme, poverty, and they had lost all their business, and Makkah instead took the place of Yemen that time. So Abraham wanted to get all those trade links back into Yemen. So he thought the best way is to defame Makkah, or to destroy the fame of Makkah and deroute all the tourists back into Yemen. So he challenged Kaaba. He challenged the Arabs. I want everyone to turn towards the church that I'm building in Sana'a, and you have to get rid of your Kaaba. I'm going to demolish the Kaaba. The Arabs get really angry, that they got really angry upon this command. And some of the young men of Quraysh, they went to Sana'a and they entered the church of Abraham, and they believed themselves, and they ran off the place because they were afraid someone will catch them. When the custodians of the church found someone believed themselves, after themselves inside the church, that is a great insult. It's a big insult for the church. They thought that is, of course, young men of Arab. And he challenged, I'm going to demolish Kaaba because of the insult some of the young men Arabs did in my church. And moreover, Ibn Ishaq in the narration, he says that another thing happened. Some of the Arab young men also went on a night that was hot, extremely windy, and they set fire on the church, and the church caught fire, and that was totally destroyed. Then Abraham decided to march towards Makkah. He had a very huge giant elephant. He named it Mahmud, a name quite familiar with Arabia. He named it Mahmud, and he had another 8 or 12 elephants, based on different narrations, and he wanted to march towards Makkah. Their intention was they will put chains around Kaaba, and they will put the other end in the hands of with the legs of the elephants, and they will drag it all of a sudden, and the Kaaba will be destroyed, at once. That was their plan. Anyway, army of Abraham, they started marching towards Makkah. There were some Yemenites who believed to destroy Kaaba, which is the house of Allah, and that is the Abrahamic shrine which Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam built long time ago, that holds a high position in everyone's heart, and they believe it's quite hard to see Kaaba is going to be demolished. And a group of Yemen elites, very rich people in Yemen, one of them was the Zu Nefer. He came along with his tribe, and he called all of the people who could respond to his call to fight against Abraha and stop him moving from Yemen towards Makkah. And they were miserably defeated by the army of Abraham. That was Allah's plan, to show the entire humanity and to show all of the people coming to eternity, how powerful Allah, and how Allah holds the holy shrine of Kaaba. How Allah gives reverence and respect towards it. That Allah wanted to show people. Abraham had to come. Then Allah has to show how he's getting defeated. Then Zulnefer was the first one to attack Abraham, and he was miserably failed. Number 2, there was another person, that was Nufail bin Habib. When he entered the borders of Tihama, Nufail bin Habib al-Khat'ami, he was from the tribe of Khat'am. He came to fight against Abraham, and he was caught. But Abraham didn't want to kill him because he was a good man. As a guide, he could guide them towards Makkah. And he told Nufail bin Habib al-Khat'ami, if you guide us towards Makkah, you are not killed. Anyway, Nufail approached them. He marched with them, though he did not like, this expedition. Abraham is coming through. He's reaching Taif. He's reaching Taif. But the Taif, people of Taif, they became a bit hypocrites, They had a holy house. They where they used to worship their own idols that was named as Lat. They wanted their house of worship to be protected by Abraham, so they wanted to do some compromise with him, and they told, we are not to attack you, Abraham. Instead, we could give you a guide to take you in a straight away to Makkah. And they gave him a guide, namely Abu Ridal, and they made their position safe. Anyway, Abraham is marching. He has two guides now. One of them from Taif, his name is Abu Ridal, and the other one from the very border of the Yemen, accompanying them. His name was Nufail bin Habib al-Khatami. Nufail is going to play a very big role in this story. They're reaching a place namely Muhammas, al-Muhammas, where Abraham halted his army. Abraham, he sent his troops in a foray, towards Makkah to get all the camels and cattle and to take away the property of the people of Makkah. So that was his plan. And his troops, they really, won in this bad intention. They have taken lots of camels from the people of Makkah, along with 200 camels that belonged to the very leader of Quraysh, Abdul Muttalib. His 200 camels were taken by Abraha's troops, Then after seizing all these camels and cattle, Abraham, he sent one of his leader, Al-Aswad bin Mafsood, his name was Al-Aswad, that telling he was his emissary to Makkah, inviting the leader of Makkah to meet with Abraham. He's sending some agents like an emissary. He's going to Makkah and he asked for who is the leader of Makkah. When Aswad came to Makkah, everyone pointed towards Abdul Muttalib. It was a very large, handsome man, Abdul Muttalib. He had a very glowing face. Abdul Muttalib has very good prestige in his people. When Aswad was approached, when he approached Abdul Muttalib, he told them, I'm coming from Abraham. So what, do you have anything to ask Abraham about? He says, I have nothing. I have nothing to ask him. We are here not to defend your army. You came with elephants and our camels can't resist. We can't resist you. We have no intention of resistance because that will be done by the law of Kaaba. We are not to do that. Then Aswad told, anyway, my lord, Abraham, he wants to talk to you, so you may please come with me. Then Abdul Muttalib went to the tent of Abraham. He was sitting on his bed. When he saw Abdul Muttalib with his glowing face, and he was extremely handsome man, Abraham, he descended from his bed and he sat along with Abdul Muttalib on the carpet, and he showed a great respect to Abdul Muttalib, upon his very appearance. Then they began talking, and Abdul Muttalib talks. I am the master of 200 camels. So your army have taken them, by force. You have to return to me. Come on, Abdul Muttalib had a greater reverence and respect for you until you spoke these words. Are you here to talk to me about your camels? When my army and myself came here to demolish your Kaaba, the holy house that you believe and you respect. So why don't you speak to me about your house, the house of God? You're just talking to me about your camels. Are you bothered only with your camels, not the house of God, you believe? He says, I'm the master of the camels, and the Kaaba, it has its own master. I don't care. He will protect it. Then finally, Abraham, he released all the camels back to Abdul Muttalib, and Abdul Muttalib returned to Kaaba. And Abdul Muttalib, he went to Kaaba and he said some words hanging to the ring, the iron ring of the door of the Kaaba. Hanging to that, Abdul Muttalib told, Oh Allah, everyone is responsible of his own property. So we are looking after our property. So Allah, you may look after your property. They was crying and saying, Oh Allah, you may protect your holy sanctuary. And Abdul Muttalib told everyone everyone has to leave the city of Mecca and go on top of the mountains, where you can see the excesses of what Abraham and his army are doing, and the afflictions sent by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala towards them. So we are hurt in that incident. So everyone has to take, all of their camels and cattle and kids and kids. Everyone has to escape, on top of the mountain. Everyone left. Subhanallah, Abraham and what they did? They had tied 100 camel around Kaaba. That was Abdul Muttalib's plan in order to bring forth the wrath of Allah upon them. The 100 camels were tied close to Kaaba, and when the people of Abraham, when they will come and attack Kaaba, they will definitely attack these camels. Subhanallah. Upon attacking the camels that are tied close to Kaaba, that if they take away something that is offered to Kaaba, of course that will bring forth Allah's wrath and Allah's anger. Then Abdul Muttalib wanted to bring punishment upon punishment on the army of Abraham, so they had tied 100 camels around the Kaaba and they left the place, left the scene. Now the rest of the scene happening in Muhammas. In Muhammas, in some of the traditions it came that was Wadi Mu'assar. Abraham's army started to march. They started mobilizing their army, and as soon as Abraham ordered his special elephant Mahmud to stand, it did not stand towards Makkah. Subhanallah. The elephants were obeying Allah. They knew what was going to happen, and when it happened, Nufayl bin Habib, he came running, and he stood next to the elephant, and he whispered in the ear of Mahmud, saying that, Mahmud, this is the sanctuary of Allah, Mahmud. You don't go towards Kaaba. That is Allah's house. You may go back, to where you came from. You go back. Don't go towards Makkah. And he asked the elephant to kneel, and it never there. Abraham's army began beating the elephants. None of them stood. They had some rude staff, drawing them and attacking them, beating them, but none of the elephants responded. They were not ready to go towards Makkah, but they were ready to go towards Sham. They were ready to go towards Yemen. They were ready to go anywhere, but not to Makkah. SubhanAllah. When they were, getting ready, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَأَرْسَلَ عَلَيْهِمْ طَيْرًا أَبَابِيلَ. Allah sent against them birds in flocks. Birds came flying. It came in hadith. They actually came from the place of the sea. It must be from the Red Sea, that side. They didn't know that. وَأَرْسَلَ عَلَيْهِمْ طَيْرًا أَبَابِيلَ. طَيْرًا أَبَابِيلَ. And they were very small birds. They were not even to be named as birds. They were too little, And what did they do? تَرْمِيهِمْ بِحِجَارَةٍ مِّن سِجِّيلٍ. Striking them with stones that were made of sijil. Sijil in Arabic is, a solid, mud. It's actually not a piece of rock. If you just touch it, that is mud. But these are, small chickpeas, or lentils, like small pebbles that are made of sand and made of mud. They're not raw, but they were baked. They were hot. SubhanAllah, each bird had 3 stones with them, one in their beak and 2 other in their claws. So each of them had 1 in each claw and 1 in their beak, and striking. تَرْمِيهِمْ بِحِجَارَةٍ مِّن سِجِّيلٍ. Rama in Arabic means to throw at something, targeting something. You have an aim, you're targeting something, then you throw. That is Rama. تَرْمِيهِمْ بِحِجَارَةٍ مِّن سِجِّيلٍ. So these birds were not throwing random things, in random places. They were having an object. They were having a very clear aim where to hit. It came in the hadith that each stone would fall on everyone's head, and that would come out of their back. SubhanAllah, burning and spoiling the entire body. SubhanAllah, everyone, they used to get their fingertips cut off. amazing punishment. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala punished them very severely. They didn't have even their hands to hold the sword, or they couldn't even ride on the top of the elephants because they didn't have their fingers. Their fingertips were getting, chopped off. ترميهم بحجارة من سجيل فجعلهم كعصف مأكول. فجعلهم, Allah made them. Ja'ala is to transform something to another shape. Allah made them like the chewed up straws that animals chew like. They were, subhanAllah, the army of Abraha, they were shattered. When the cattle chew the straw, and when they have mouthful of straws, and some of them fall from their mouth, and you can see that shattered and spread in different part of the place. Similarly, the Abraha's army, they came united. Allah made them broken. That is the similitude, and it looks like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given a wonderful example. They were made like the chewed up straw. SubhanAllah. This incident marked a very important time in the history of Arabia, since from that incident they used to start an era, namely the elephant era. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he was born in 570 AD, but he was born in the first year of the elephant year. They named the time even upon this incident. And that was something Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was highlighting. Or people of Quraysh, though Allah is not happy with your polytheism, because Quraysh were worshipping lots of idols inside and outside Kaaba. They were pagans. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was telling them, I'm protecting the house of Kaaba. I'm protecting my house. Not because I like your deeds, not because I like your belief, not because I like the idols that you worship and you point it inside and outside Kaaba. It's not. Because Allah is the custodian of the house, and the house was built by Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, so that will be the base of monotheism on the earth. SubhanAllah, a prophet has to come who will be the finality of the prophets. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has to come. I'm going to fulfill the message. Then Kaaba should be there, and Kaaba should be saved in order to pave the way for the coming of the Messenger Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And that was a special privilege for the people of Quraysh. And after this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave a special position for the people of Arabia, especially for Quraysh. Then Allah was telling the following surah, لِإِيلَافِ قُرَيْشٍ إِيلَافِهِمْ رِحْلَةَ الشِّتَاءِ وَالصَّيْفِ فَلْيَعْبُدُوا رَبَّ هَذَا الْبَيْتِ. Since Allah has helped you, you should be worshipping the master of this house, that is Allah. If you look the sequence of the surah, I'm here to tell you, if you're coming from Juz' Amma and coming down to the end of this Quran, you will find some very beautiful link between the surahs. أَلَمْ تَرَ كَيْفَ فَعَلَ رَبُّكَ بِأَصْحَابِ الْفِيلِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was talking from this surah through لِإِلَافِ قُرَيْشٍ, through Ma'un and Surah Al-Kawthar and all of the coming surahs. These are all closely related to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Surah Al-Humazah, which is right before, which is the surah we will learn inshallah next week. That surah is the last surah in, if you look at the Quranic sequence of surah, that is the last one to talk about the hellfire and the torments on the hereafter. That is the last surah that is talking clearly about the life hereafter. The surahs coming from surah is the 10 surahs, أَلَمْ تَرَ كَيْفَ فَعَلَ رَبُّكَ until قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ النَّاسِ. These are all interrelated one to another, which is having a common subject. That is something to do with Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. You know that Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, he had, when he came to Makkah, he made a dua. He made the dua in Quran narrates in two different surahs, in Surah Ibrahim and Surah Al-Baqarah. In Surah Al-Baqarah, Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, Allah narrates that Ibrahim alayhi salam prayed, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Rabbi ja'al hadha baladan amina In Surah Ibrahim, Allah tells about Ibrahim alayhi salam as he prayed, رَبِّ اجْعَلْ هَذَا الْبَلَدَ رَبِّ اجْعَلْ هَذَا الْبَلَدَ آمِنًا آمِنًا وَارْزُقْ أَهْلَهُ مِنَ الثَّمَرَاتِ. There's a difference. Rabbi, O Allah, اجْعَلْ هَذَا بَلَدًا آمِنًا. Make this place a safe place, which is Makkah. There, balad is nakira. You know, nakira is something which is known, which is not known. Rabbi ja'al hada. Oh Allah, make this baladan amina. Make this a safe place. Make this a safe city. It comes in Surah Ibrahim. Ibrahim alayhi salam prayed, Rabbi ja'al hada al-balada aminan warzuq ahlahu min ath-thamar. Oh Allah, make this city, which is the city of Makkah, make this city a safe place. In English, both may seem, the same, but in Arabic it is different. When Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam coming to Makkah from Palestine, and he's leaving his kids there, that is when Ibrahim alayhi salam used the baladan in Nakira, which is not known. Because Ibrahim alayhi salam came, there was nothing. There was no Kaaba, was not seen there. رَبِّ إِنِّي أَسْكَنْتُ مِنْ ذُرِّيَّتِي بِوَادٍ غَيْرِ ذِي زَرْعٍ عِنْدَ بَيْتِكَ الْمُحَرَّمِ. There was no plantation, there was no greenery, there was no vegetation, there was no water. Nobody was living there. So that was an unknown place. There Allah used baladan, not al-balad. Al-balad means that place. When Ibrahim is coming for the first time, he sees the place, he doesn't know. Nobody was living there, there's nothing, no trees, no water, nothing to survive on. So Ibrahim is in that dua, that will be the first time when he came to Makkah, he prayed to Allah, Oh Allah, Rabbi ja'al hada. That's in Surah Al-Baqarah. Rabbi ja'al hada, Oh Allah, make this baladan amina, a safe place. Ibrahim is praying for security. Number two, warzuq ahlahu min ath-thamarat. And provide the people of this place with fruits and sustenance. SubhanAllah, food and safety. That is the two things that any society needs to survive. If we have money, we have our houses, we have jobs, vehicles and everything, and there is no safety, you can't survive. No society can survive. And everything is there, job is there, you have house, everything is there, you don't have food to survive on. So nobody can survive. So that is the core important point of survival of any society, food and security. That is what Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam prayed for. رَبِّ اجْعَلْ هَذَا بَلَدًا آمِنًا وَارْزُقْ أَهْلَهُ مِنَ الثَّمَرَاتِ مَنْ آمَنَ مِنْهُمْ. Oh Allah, grant the security and the fruits and the sustenance for those who believe in you. بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ. For those who believe in you, in Allah and the Day of Judgment. So give them security and give them fruits. Ibrahim alayhi salam, he can't say that, Allah, if any of my children, grandchildren who would disbelieve in you, you should grant them food and sustenance. Because he can't ask Allah blessings for those who disbelieve in him. So Ibrahim alayhi salam made it clear, oh Allah, مَنْ آمَنَ مِنْهُمْ بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ. For only those who will believe in you and the Day of Judgment. Then Allah said, وَمَنْ كَفَرَ. And I will be giving security and food, وَمَنْ كَفَرَ, for the disbelievers as well. فَأُمَتِّعُهُ قَلِيلًا. We will give them for some time. Then we're going to push them towards the hellfire. SubhanAllah. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it was actually the Surah Al-Fil was talking about the security that Allah has given for the people of Arabia. They were under attack from the army of Abraham. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prevented them, protected them from the army of Abraham and gave them security. رَبِّ اجْعَلْ هَذَا بَلَدًا آمِنًا. In the following surah, Surah Quraysh, لِإِيلَافِ قُرَيْشٍ إِيلَافِهِمْ رِحْلَةَ الشِّتَاءِ وَالصَّيْفِ فَلْيَعْبُدُوا رَبَّ هَذَا الْبَيْتِ الَّذِي أَطْعَمَهُم مِّن جُوعٍ وَآمَنَهُم مِّن خَوْفٍ. We talked about it. There Allah is talking about the sustenance, their journeys of their business, merchandise. They used to do one to Sham, the other to Yemen. That is highlighting the sustenance. money and food that they used to bring from other parts of the world to Mecca. Then the second surah is talking about security. مَنْ آمَنَ بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ. The next surah. Though Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protected His house, are the people, the custodians of the house of Allah, what is their nature? Are they truly believing in Allah? Or are they under the category of وَمَنْ كَفَرَ فَأُمَتِّعُهُ قَلِيلًا? Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, he told there will be people coming after me. And Ibrahim alayhi salam prayed to Allah, وَمَنْ كَفَرَ فَأُمَتِّعُهُ قَلِيلًا. And Allah told those who disbelieve, I will punish them, I will give them sustenance for a while. Then I will push them towards the hellfire. Then Ibrahim alayhi salam told, Oh Allah, I want myself and my children to be the first of believers. Oh Allah, make me Muslim. وَمِنْ ذُرِّيَّتِي أُمَّةً مُسْلِمًا. And oh Allah, make Muslims, from my children and my grandchildren. Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam was praying for himself and the people and his own children coming after him to be Muslims. So are the people of Makkah are true believers now, or are they kuffar? What is their behavior? How do they act? Though they've been helped by Allah, they are denying the religion. They are oppressing every week. Not to mention orphan. They are oppressing even orphan. They're not to mention what they do with the other weak people. And they don't pray. They are praying to idols. They are not praying Allah. And they don't sacrifice to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They were not ready even to give a very simple favor to anyone. وَيَمْنَعُونَ الْمَعْرُونَ. This is their situation. So whenever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala explaining about a group of people who disbelieve, then Allah would say a group of people who would believe. But Allah's intention is that there should be a group of people who would take Allah's word and make it high above everything. That is, إِنَّا أَعْطَيْنَاكَ الْكَوْثَرَ فَصَلِّ لِرَبِّكَ وَانْحَرْ إِنَّ شَانِئَكَ هُوَ الْأَبْتَرُ. The final messenger Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he will be the one to take, as a relay from Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, to highlight the messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And what Allah was asking, since the Quraysh are worshipping idols, فَصَلِّ لِرَبِّكَ, make you pray sincerely to Allah. The Quraysh and the people of Arabia, they are so miserly and they are not even ready to spend very simple benefits. They are not ready to lend even something to their neighbors. For you have to sacrifice. Do sacrifice instead of that. They are worshipping الَّذِينَ هُمْ سَاهُونَ الَّذِينَ هُمْ عَنْ صَلَاتِهِمْ سَاهُونَ. They are careless about the prayer. They are careless about worshipping Allah. فَصَلِّ لِرَبِّكَ وَانْحَرْ. O Rasulullah, you worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sincerely. So Allah is coming from point to point, moving through the prayer of Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam. Then, when the message would come, there would be enmity, of course. No prophet of Allah was able to survive, without challenges in his society. Of course, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam will be faced by challenges. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is addressing the people of Arabia, قُلْ يَا أَيُّهَا الْكَافِرُونَ. Without naming them Quraysh, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was asked to call them kafirun, because Islam and disbelief, that is the relationship in the world. There is no other relation, there is no family ties. Because there is faith and disbelief, belief and disbelief, faith and polytheism, Islam and kufr. So we are of two community in the world, the side of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, either believers or non-believers. Then Allah was addressed, قُلْ يَا أَيُّهَا الْكَافِرُونَ. Say, O Messenger of Allah, O you who disbelieve. There will be challenges for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that is faced. But after challenges, there will be a final victory, and that is for the faith. إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ وَالْفَتْحِ. إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ وَالْفَتْحِ. There comes Allah's greater victory to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the surahs have very close relation in between each of them. though they're all, sharing one common message. That is what directly links to the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. I'm telling them in brief, considering the time. إذا جاء نصر الله والفتح ورأيت الناس يدخلون في دين الله أفواجا فسبح بحمد ربك واستغفره إنه كان توابا. Then the final victory is going to be for Islam. Fatah. Allah will make Islam victorious upon everything, over everything. Where there comes a great victory, that will be preceded by smaller victories. When Prophet Musa والسلام, when he was helped by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and on the day of Ashura, when Pharaoh was drowned in the Dead Sea, in the Red Sea, what happened? Before that victory happens, Allah has given Musa والسلام small victories in order to make the pathway to there. That this is leading to a great victory. Musa والسلام had his miraculous staff. He showed Pharaoh lots of signs, and Pharaoh were tested by different types of afflictions, like blood, like frogs, like headlights, lots of things. SubhanAllah. Then came the final victory of drowning Pharaoh. Similarly, to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam to have إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ وَالْفَتْحِ, the great help of Allah and the great victory. Before that, Rasulullah has a sign that that victory will be preceded by, small victories. That is تَبَّتْ يَدَا أَبِي لَهْبٍ وَطَلَبٍ, to getting rid of one big enemy of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, along with his wife. SubhanAllah. Then after the victory, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is emphasizing Tawheed. قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ اللَّهُ الصَّمَدُ لَمْ يَلِدْ وَلَمْ يُولَدْ وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ. That is the whole message of Quran. We're coming to the end. Starting from Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Surah Al-Fatiha. Then Alif Lam Mim, ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. This book, there is no doubt in it. Of sure, this is a guidance for the people who are conscious of Allah. Where's the guidance? What is the guidance? That is the Tawheed. So Quran is, reinforcing the message of Tawheed at the end of Quran. Then for Tawheed, to get Tawheed and follow Tawheed, there could be two types of challenges. Some superficial challenges from outside and challenges within inside. Then Surah Al-Fil is talking about the challenges that you would face against Tawheed, that is outside, that is not within yourselves. قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ الْفَلَقِ مِنْ شَرِّ مَا خَلَقَ وَمِنْ شَرِّ غَاسِقٍ إِذَا وَقَبَ وَمِنْ شَرِّ النَّفَّاثَاتِ فِي الْعُقَدِ وَمِنْ شَرِّ حَاسِدٍ إِذَا حَسَدَ. So sorcery and the kind of the dangers of the nun and the dangers of the whisper, the dangers of sihr, all of these are dangers that would come from outside. And there is a danger within yourselves. That is the whispering of shaitan. That is mentioned at the end. قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ النَّاسِ مَلِكِ النَّاسِ إِلَهِ النَّاسِ مِنْ شَرِّ الْوَسْوَاسِ الْخَنَّاسِ الَّذِي يُوَسْوِسُ فِي صُدُورِ النَّاسِ مِنَ الْجِنَّةِ وَالنَّاسِ. So seeking refuge in Allah from two types of challenges. That would be a hindrance for you, between, taking Tawheed and digesting it and living Tawheed. One superficial and the other is from inside. That's from shaitan, the other is from the outside. So the surahs have a very close relation one to another based on the dua of Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam. Here we're going to conclude. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us his extreme power. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for him, nothing can prevent from Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala huwa al-qabil. He is the one who can catch. In the Batsha Rabbika Shadid, and when Allah comes to catch someone, that would be severe and that is going to be brave. SubhanAllah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving a stern warning to any people that would come along, against the house of Allah or holy shrines. This is a teaching for all the Muslims that any holy shrine is respected in Islam. Not only prophets, we have awliya, we have arifin, we have righteous people of Allah. We have to respect them, let them be alive or dead. But at the same time, Allah has holy shrines, the things that Allah respected. وَمَنْ يُعَظِّمْ شَعَائِرَ اللَّهِ فَإِنَّهَا مِنْ تَقْوَى الْقُلُوبِ. To have respect towards anything that Allah has respected, that is the sign of taqwa, that is the sign of our faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Anything like Hajar al-Aswad, the black stone, the holy shrine of Kaaba, the mosques of Allah, the things that related to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam or any other prophet, their places, their footprint. Think of Maqam Ibrahim, which is a part of Kaaba, as it is part of Kaaba, very close. What we have there, a footprint of Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam on his stone. وَاتَّخِذُوا الْمَقَامِ إِبْرَاهِيمَ مُصَلَّى. In order to give honor and respect for that, you have to pray 2 rak'ah behind Maqam Ibrahim. What is Maqam Ibrahim? Nothing but the footprint of Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam. So Allah is telling, is anyone to humiliate the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that is not going to be tolerated. So, أَلَمْ تَرَ كَيْفَ فَعَلَ رَبُّكَ بِأَصْحَابِ الْفِيلِ. Didn't you, Prophet, haven't you seen how Allah dealt with the people of elephants? أَلَمْ يَجْعَلْ كَيْدَهُمْ فِي تَضْلِيلٍ. Didn't Allah cause their plots to go astray? وَأَرْسَلَ عَلَيْهِمْ طَيْرًا أَبَابِيلَ. Allah sent against them birds in flocks, تَرْمِيهِمْ بِحِجَارَةٍ مِّن سِجِّيلٍ, striking them with stones, baked stones. فَجَعَلَهُمْ كَعَصْفٍ مَأْكُولٍ. And Allah turned them finally like the chewed straws. We ask Allah protection from all of His wraths, and we ask Allah to give us sincere faith in Him and to guide us to the straight path in this life and the life hereafter. We ask Allah forgiveness for ourselves, for our parents and brothers and sisters, and for all people who are listening to this program from different parts of the world. And we ask Allah to give sustenance and security to all the Muslim countries, wherever Muslims are living. رَبِّ جَعَلْ هَذَا الْبَلَدَ آمِنًا وَارْزُقْ أَهْلَهُ مِنَ الثَّمَرَاتِ. Like Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam prayed for Makkah. May Allah make peace and security in every place where Muslims live. And may Allah guide all enemies of Islam to Islam and open their hearts for the guidance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. آمين يا رب العالمين. الحمد لله رب العالمين حمدا يوافي نعمه ويكافئ مزيدا. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم تسليما كثيرا مزيدا. اللهم اغفر للمؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات الأحياء منهم والأموات إنك يا مولانا سميع قريب مجيب الدعوات. اللهم اشفنا اللهم اشفنا اللهم اشفنا واشف مرضانا. اللهم اشف أمراض قلوبنا. اللهم اشف أمراض أجسادنا. اللهم احفظنا في الحضر والسفر. اللهم أنت تعلم من يسافر منا. اللهم اجعل سفره أمنا أمانا وآمنا يا رب العالمين. اللهم نفس عنا الكرب. اللهم نفس عنا الكرب. اللهم نفس عنا الكرب ما ظهر منها وما بطن. اللهم آمنا في أوطاننا. اللهم اجعل لنا من لدنك رزقا وافرا. ربنا اغفر لنا ولوالدينا ربنا ارحمهم كما ربونا صغارا. آمين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. صلى الله تعالى وسلم على خير خلقه سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Inshallah from next week.
I think next week there will be Milad Sharif. Saturday.
Saturday, the Milad Sharif version, right?
Yeah.
So we won't be inshallah conducting the next lesson.
No, it's on Saturday.
It's on Saturday. Okay.
If
We were talking about, if you could move this lesson to the Saturday's lesson. So we're talking Saturday anyway. We have the lesson in Malayalam, right? So I thought of doing this English lesson in order to reduce the time and travel for everyone. We do it all in once, like from Maghrib, after Salat al-Maghrib to Isha we will do in English. Then after Isha onwards from 8:30 we will do the Malayalam lesson inshallah. But it doesn't apply to the next lesson. The next lesson will be inshallah on Thursday, because Saturday we can't do that. So inshallah we will meet on next Saturday. By the grace of Allah we will do Surah Al-Humazah inshallah. Then after inshallah we will think of moving back.
Next Thursday.
There is no class.
There's no class next Thursday?
Should be. Because we have to think where it's Tajweed class as well after on Saturday.
Is it here or on different?
No, it's not. We have to think. It's better to be this class on next Thursday. Then we will think.
Yeah. Next Thursday, inshallah, we have the same. Yeah, we're thinking of moving that after next week. So next week, inshallah, on Thursday. Thank you very much for your attendance. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi.